Yet another episode with Sri Greeny Sunil. Greeny Sunil, welcome to Saptarishis Astrology.
Thank you, Sunilji. Thank you so much for calling me.
It's our pleasure.
It's a pleasure always being here.
It's our pleasure and an honor to have you. And before we start, today's planet is Neptune. Okay, I decided I got to look less handsome than you. I selected white, and you selected white and black.
Yeah, it looks like black, is it? I thought it is supposed to be a little purplish because we're going to be talking about Neptune. Yeah, but it looks like black. Okay, fine. Yeah.
What's the color of Neptune?
Neptune's color is supposed to be purple, so it's like because it's shades of purple. Purple is a very beautiful color which shows many hues. I mean, there is a blue in it, there is a gray in it, there is some kind of a white. I mean, the purple color is a very so it probably symbolizes the what Neptune is all about. There are so many hues to Neptune, so maybe that is the reason purple is the color.
I just realized a question I did not ask was, normally like we say Jupiter rules Thursday, Mercury rules Wednesday. So Uranus rules which day of the week?
No, I don't know. I seriously haven't given a thought on that because we already have this only 7 days, but we're talking about 12 planets. So obviously, we can't fit all of them into any day or the other. I mean, it's very difficult. So yeah, we'll have to have them 12 days in a week.
Yeah. All right, we're going to start with your presentation, and to ladies and gentlemen, today I will also share some of my deep worries with Neptune, and especially regarding sea and addictions. I'm going to share some charts, and there's one thing I also would share. That's something I did a research back, was the connection of Mr. Lobo. One of my Western astrologer friends, he had shared to me a secret on the connection of Neptune. Normally, we take Uranus very particular for in astrologer's horoscope. Even Narendra Desai insisted on Uranus. But a friend of mine, he used to write in a magazine around 8 years back, and he said Neptune and Sun, any form of connection, conjunction, dispositor, or Neptune is in Sun sign, or Sun in aspect of Neptune or whatever, is very significant in the horoscope of astrologers.
Oh, is it?
And I tested it on more than 70-75 astrologers, world famous astrologers. And of course, I found many layers beyond the Rashi chart. I tested it on Naumansh, and my favorite, that is the Sashtyamsha, D60. And I found absolute connection of it in astrologers' chart, and it was so fascinating because I tested it on charts of astrologers from B. Suryanarayan Rao till now. So it was very fascinating for me as to how Neptune is playing a role, in the horoscope of astrologers. Quickly, I cannot share that research in detail because it will consume time. Quickly, let me point out to this horoscope, which is of K.N. Rao. And the birth time is 7:53:41 seconds. I repeat 41 seconds for the audience, because this is what K.N. Rao wrote in his magazine, Journal of Astrology. Incidentally, Neptune is in the sign of Leo. The case, and now I don't remember. That was because that was 6 years back or something. I did that research. And see here also, in his D60, his Sashtyamsha, Neptune is in the sign of Jupiter, but but the dispositor, Jupiter, goes in the sign of Leo.
Okay, okay, okay. Hmm.
So of course it's not just one horoscope, but I saw it from various angles and many great astrologers chart. The show is yours. The show is yours. I just gave a thought of research work for our audiences.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's start with your presentation on Neptune, and I'm quite sure it's going to be very exciting.
Mm.
So here comes the god Neptune. What is it called in Greek?
Neptune is, Neptune is called Neptune. Yeah, so that is the, it's a very well known, okay, it's the Neptune, no, okay, so I don't remember the Greek equivalent of it, but Neptune, yeah, so Neptune is is a very commonly used word for this planet, which rules Pisces, okay, and it is a god of the seas. It's a god of the seas, a god of if you're going to talk in terms of the Indian equivalent, it is Varuna, okay, and it is a god of the seas, the Maya. That you can call it as a Maya. So that is what it's all about. Yeah. So if we need to understand this zodiac, the planet Neptune, then probably we can, if we look into the mind of a Piscian. If we get into the mind of a Piscian, then probably we'll be able to understand what Neptune is all about. They say that Neptune is a higher octave of Jupiter. Many people say that. Because where Jupiter is all about knowledge, Jupiter is all about the, is about getting into, we say rocket science. A Sagittarian, okay, who is ruled by Jupiter will be very comfortable. He can discuss probably rocket science with you, from all angles. Or any subject on earth, a Sagittarian is one who can just stand up and, give a oratory marvel. But if you're looking at a Piscian, okay, the Pisces, which is the higher octave of Jupiter, it goes even beyond knowledge.
Okay.
So it's about not just knowledge, it's about wisdom. It's about going one level higher. I will say several notches higher. So Pisces, it's an all-encompassing knowledge. It's beyond knowledge. It's about actually knowing the things. So that is probably, I would say, is what the Pisces is all about. So it's about the deep knowledge. And if you're looking at a sea, it's ocean. So Varuna, the god, is the one who's ruling Pisces. So it's ocean. So knowledge is ocean. The depth of the knowledge is also, it's all about Neptune. And the sea also contains the greatest mysteries in the world. The deepest mysteries in the world is contained in the seas. Probably there are more animals, there is more kingdom inside the sea than it's on the earth. So every research that you can think of, everything which is mysterious, everything which cannot be explained, everything which is mythical, everything which is, which looks unnatural, which looks very different. No, I wouldn't say the word different, because different is all about the Uranus. But this is something which is unexplainable. You can't explain it. So probably that is what I can say Neptune is all about. Something which is beyond explanation. Something which is mythical. Okay, so mythical is something which is, you can't explain it. You can just see it. You can just feel it. You can feel the aura. So it's all about, probably Neptune is all about that. Okay. The people who are born in Neptune have this kind of an aura which is amazing, which is beyond comprehension. You can't, you'll have to probably touch it to feel it, So it is that kind of an energy, or I wouldn't say the word again, the energy. It is like, it's something which is the aura. Okay, I can say maybe that's what emanates from them, So and if you're going to look into the Pisces mind, probably you'll get more. See, Piscians are people who are like, they are so forgiving. They will never hold grudges against you. They know that, okay, fine. So we all have to one day die. They are like, okay, live and let live. So that is again beyond a Scorpio who keeps grudges, or all the other zodiac signs which are like, who are very materialistically oriented. Piscians are people who are beyond all of this. So Neptune in a way indicates something which is beyond the materialistic comfort. It is about spirituality. It is about going to the other level. It is about going beyond. It is about the transcendence. So there are so many things which we can't explain it. Okay, so the spirituality is something which has got so many shades. Okay, so all of that is ruled by Pisces. And Pisces also have a lot of, I mean, Pisces are people who have a lot of virtues, and there are also so many follies in them, which is very interesting. So a typical Pisces is one who's always scared, okay, of water, or maybe like they're very scared of many things. They see visions. A typical Pisces will tell you, you know, like, I mean, I've met many Pisces. They tell me that I can actually see my grandmother dying. You know, I
Oh,
could, yeah, they tell me that a sun, Mercury, or a moon in Pisces person will tell you, you know, my grandmother was to die after 15 days, and I could actually see her dying. Okay, or or the patients, or the most of the patients will tell you that, you know, they are very scared of all these, you know, booth, pret, and all. So they're very scared of the evil spirits. They feel that when they enter into a room, then they feel that there is something wrong here. They feel something is here, you know. So all those things are very, very common to a patient. So this again connects to Neptune, because Neptune is the one which also probably, you know, in many ways controls the evil spirits, many ways, all those things which are inexplainable, all those energies which are there around us. But you can't really tell them, you cannot classify them and say that this is what it is. So all of that is again connected to the Neptune. And of course, you touched upon one important thing, okay, Sunilji, and that is addiction. So Pisces, patients are people who are known to get addicted to something or the other. You know, it can be a simple cola. It can be one cola, it can be one cigarette, or it can be liquor, it can be sex, it can be love. And if they get addicted, I mean, like, they need that. They need always that in their life. So Neptune can also be that planet which shows which is that area where you're addicted to, which is that area where you're like so much, you know, like you are into that, you know, you are into it. You can't live without that. So all of those things can be explained by Neptune. So it's something which is very extraordinary. So it can be a very simple thing, like a person's habit to spirituality, to the highest form of spirituality, or the highest form of knowledge. You know, so knowledge is like from knowing to going to unknown to the unknowable. You know, all of those things can be connected to Neptune. So it's an amazing, amazing planet.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And let us go further. Let's go further in your this thing. So this is what you were saying: conscious to super conscious.
Yes, yeah. So it's beyond that. I mean, we're talking about you know, everything which is there around us. Okay, we can see, but patients can see things beyond that. Okay, so that is exactly. So Neptune is something which is beyond the what you can see with your naked eyes. It shows something which exists, but it cannot be seen. You know, all of those things. So all the dreams, the illusions, everything which is you know, even things which can seem like a dream. I mean, if you look, like, for example, Neptune exalted people. If you're looking like at a Devanand, for example, he was a dream man. I mean, they say that, you know, women used to look at him and faint. Yeah,
Faint,
he used
faint.
to wear this black shirt. Yeah. So I mean, that aura, of that illusionary aura, that comes from Neptune. So when you're a Neptune exalted person, I mean, it is there in the 10th house for, I mean, like, Devanand Saab has that 10th house Neptune exalted. So that makes him the illusionary man, the man of dreams, the man who can, you know, like, can enchant you. So and you can't explain that phenomenon, you know. So, and also another very interesting thing is that even if you're looking at love, love is something which can be attributed to a Libra. You know, Venus is love. But this love, the Piscean, I mean, if you're looking at a Cancerian love, the Cancerian love is a motherly love. You know, that's a selfless love. But if you're looking at a Piscean love, the Piscean love encompasses everything else. I mean, it's beyond love itself. So if you're looking at a Neptune, it can be extraordinary. It can be much, much beyond explanation. So so that is a kind of a, you know, like, I mean, I'll always fall short of words when I'm going to talk about Neptune. Yeah, you need a lot of you know, your vocabulary has to be really strong to talk about Neptune.
I'll
Yeah,
quickly add to this. You know, this illusion. See,
yeah,
addiction in a way is illusion. You know, because we
yeah.
feel we're getting something. I'll show some charts on addiction whenever we cross a certain part of this session. But
Sure, sure, sure.
speaking on illusions,
Yeah,
I have seen that wherever Neptune sits, in whichever house it is sitting, the person will be in an state where the significations of that house, okay,
Mm-hmm.
will kind of dominate his life, especially
Mm-hmm.
if the other combinations in the horoscope, okay,
Mm-hmm.
support it. Okay.
Mm.
For example,
Yeah.
my Neptune is in the fourth house.
Okay.
I am obsessed with the correct chair.
Chair. Acha.
You
Okay.
know that Amitabh Bachchan movie, okay,
Uh-huh.
forgetting, I think it was Trishul or something, where he has
Uh-huh.
a chair and he, his father,
Fine.
so-called, yeah, yeah, even that, if you notice, I always have a habit of sitting like this. That
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you sit like that. Yeah, I've seen you sit like that most of the time, many times. Yeah.
Agnipath, that
Yeah,
thing,
Agnipath, Agnipath. Yeah, Agnipath. Hey. Yeah.
you know, ये तो jungle का कानून चलता है. That kind of, then he will
Yeah.
shift in that scene.
Yeah.
Same with the chair that Amitabh Bachchan, he sees that chair and he rotates it with Shah Rukh Khan
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
the chair, you can't believe. Me and Arjun Pai, we once went to buy a chair for my office, and I was searching for the most correct chair. It has to be, I do not know why.
Mm.
Neptune I have seen in somebody's Lagna,
Yeah.
person is always under an illusion.
Mm. True.
Another person, Neptune with Mars, brothers have come, stripped that lady of her inheritance, what do you call, property,
Oh.
still in love with brothers. She'll cry.
Okay.
She'll cry.
Okay.
Neptune in the 8th house, illusion about property. Never got the property.
Okay.
Inheritance.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, Neptune in the 11th house, another man I know, obsessed with staying on top.
Mm.
Another person, Neptune in the 4th house. 4th house is chair and the throne. Obsessed with staying on top. Obsessed.
Mm.
So I've seen it in various measures.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Maybe
various measures.
I have a Neptune 12, so maybe that's the reason I'm obsessed with research. Yeah.
That's good. Narendra Modi also has Neptune in the 12th house, and Ram Krishna Paramhans also Neptune in the 12th house. Okay.
Okay. Mm.
Problem is Neptune in the 12th house for Ram Krishna Paramhans. Okay, would give him the spirituality.
Mm. Yes. 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 Yes.
It's probably giving you research right now, maybe later spirituality. We do not know.
Yes.
With
Yes.
Narendra Modi, it gave him in between spirituality. Now he's come back to the common man.
Correct. Correct.
Because
Correct.
what I see with Neptune is wherever Neptune sits, there will be reversal of fortune or reversal of tides in that particular house.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course, it depends on the whole horoscope. Suppose Neptune is in the 8th house, so that's inheritance. So you are supposed to get 400 crores of inheritance. But something happens and there is reversal.
Correct.
Somebody will die and forget to, suppose it is with Mercury, forget to write, let me just double check a chart, forget to write your name in the deed.
Okay.
Forget to
Mm.
write your name in the deed. I mean, that's how, it's working. It's working. So, of course, it depends on so many other things, so many other things, so many factors.
Correct.
The way I look at it is the outer planets like Neptune, which I presume probably stays 14 years in a sign,
14 years. Yes. Yes. Right.
approximately. So
Yes. Yes.
Uranus is 7, Neptune is 14. Okay.
Yeah.
So they give indications, they give 100 indications. We have to narrow it down from the individual horoscope, which other combinations are matching what Neptune is supposed to give.
Correct. 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 Correct.
And then we fix it, because I know how people think. People will say, oh, this Neptune is sitting in a sign for 14 years.
Mm.
So how is it going to give you the same result? But the Lagna is changing every 2.5 hours.
Absolutely, yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
But people don't think when they want to argue because they just want to argue. Anyway,
absolutely.
let's continue with the sync. I love having this discussions with you. Spirituality, yes, you suggested this. I did not know that.
Yeah, and very interestingly, tragedy is something which is associated with Neptune. This is something which I've seen it always. It can be a very simple. I mean, we are going to look into some charts, okay, in the coming course of time. And tragedy is one word, okay, which is so beautifully attached to Neptune, which is amazing because it may be because patience. I mean, like and patience derive the energy from Neptune. One, these patients are people who are like always worried about something is going to go wrong, something is going to go wrong, something is going to go wrong. I don't know why they have this feeling, but maybe like the Neptune is what makes them feel like that. And tragedy, it's very interesting. It can be everything from Titanic to a Shah Jahan to a even our
Hema
Deva
Kumari.
Dilip Kumar.
Huh.
He was called as the king of tragedy.
Correct.
He was called king of tragedy, and he has Neptune in deepest exaltation. Okay, so all those Neptune people. Okay, now when I call this Neptune people means I'm talking about people who have either Neptune in own house or Neptune in exaltation. Okay, see, Neptune is one planet which is going to be dormant. I wouldn't use the word dormant, but I would say probably the impact is not going to be so great in all the other zodiac signs. I mean, if you're looking from Aries to every other zodiac sign, it's going to be, the impact is going to be still there, but it may not be very pronounced. But in Pisces and in Cancer, it's going to be extraordinary because Pisces is where it's its own house. So there, when Neptune is going to getting into Pisces after 180 years or so, the impact is going to be huge. And when it gets exalted in Cancer, oh my God, I mean, the impact is absolutely mind-boggling. So when you look into some chart, you'll see that there is no other planet in the chart. And if you look at, for example, we're going to talk about Mahatma Gandhi's chart. There is no other planet which can explain the greatness of Mahatma Gandhi except for Neptune. Okay, or what sufferings he has been through. So, so tragedy is one thing which is, when you look into any Neptunian chart, you will always see tragedy being there. It will be a key role in a person's life, which is really amazing.
When you said two words, you said tragedy, I could think of only one woman. Then you mentioned Dilip Kumar. Okay.
Yeah. You're talking about Meena Kumari. Yeah.
And
yeah.
you can't believe it, what I just found.
Okay.
This is her birth date. I don't have a time of birth. Okay. She's first
She's
August.
a Libra ascendant. She's a Libra ascendant.
Oh my God, I just got Libra.
God. You got it right.
you can't believe this. You can't believe this. One of my absolute secret methods is, when you want to look at a horoscope, you don't have the time of birth. When you, as the Daivagna, the astrologer, is constructing the horoscope, take that time as the time of birth.
Oh wow!
I've been doing it for years.
Is it?
For years I've been doing it.
Okay.
And I've found it working so well. Normally people take 12 noon or they take Chandra Lagna. Okay, take Chandra Lagna. Take Chandra Lagna. But this is what I follow. And I just constructed this horoscope.
Oh wow!
And it's 11:53 now in the morning. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
The time here is 11:51. Now you see Neptune. Okay? You see, and the audience will be shocked to see Neptune is here with Venus, Jupiter, Ketu. Venus Ketu combination in Nadi astrology means break in love affairs. It is with Neptune means 100% illusion and tragedy regarding love.
Love, absolutely.
And it is, if we assume this thing as correct, it is aspecting the 5th house of love. Okay. And we know that she had become an alcoholic.
Yes.
So mind has to be affected. Neptune is with Venus. So alcoholism due to failed love affairs. Incidentally, It is with Jupiter, which is the sixth lord of court cases.
Mm.
And uh,
And it is also Neptune is also a sixth lord. I mean, Neptune is a sixth lord actually. Yeah,
yeah,
Neptune
yeah.
is a sixth lord.
So it is, you know, the problems that she faced, and they, as they say, you know, I'm an old timer. You know, as they say, uh, if she would lift her eyelids,
Yeah.
people would go mad. Look at Pakiza. I mean, Pakiza is for a 15-minute song. For 8 minutes, she does not even lift her arms or lift her eye. She does not even lift her eyelids. You know, and when she does that, oh my God, Pakiza. Oh, 18 years it took to make that movie. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's forget my love with Meena Kumari and let's concentrate on Neptune. Okay.
Yeah.
The tragedy, you have explained it. Legacy is something I could not understand. Please.
Yeah, so this is something actually the Neptune is associated with the 12th house,
Mhm.
the natural 12th house. So the 12th house is all about losses. I mean, as we know, it indicates losses. But sometimes what happens is it may not necessarily be a loss, but something which you leave behind, something you leave for the world, something you leave, some work. Actually, what happens is there are some many people who do some great work, and then they don't actually get all the benefits for that work in their own lifetime,
Hmm.
and then they leave it and go, and someone else actually enjoys the benefit. So I mean, I remember, for example, the great painter, uh, oh no, I just forgot his name. Okay, so the great painter who has his you know, the ear cut, the ear is cut off.
Hmm.
He has a very you know, his hair is cut off, chopped off. Oh
I think
no.
name starts with G.
Okay, I just forgot his name. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So he has a very prominent Neptune in his chart. Okay, and it's very interesting. So
Van
he
Gogh.
has left.
Van Gogh. Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. So Van Gogh didn't enjoy any benefit of his work when he was alive, but then he left behind a legacy, which probably, you know, like, which will stay on forever. I mean, each of his painting is costing hundreds of crores. So that is something which is actually you know, a legacy that you leave, which you don't enjoy it yourself, but then it's left behind. And again, it's connected to the tragedy. I mean, you didn't enjoy it. The poor guy died. I mean, he died a very tragic death. He didn't. He was sick. He was poor, and he left behind a legacy which is so rich.
That's true. That's true.
I've seen this in many charts actually. I mean, I've seen this in. There was one person, one movie producer. I again forgot his name. He came from Pakistan. He lived in India. He married a lady who's like 32 years younger than him. Okay, and then he died. And when he died a very debt-ridden man. He had some, you know, like 10 crores of debt. I mean, we're talking about something in the 70s.
My
But then
God.
his wife found some stuff worth crores of rupees later.
Oh.
Okay, and it was amazing. I mean, she paid off all the debts, and then she had all the legacy to herself. And she
Okay.
was 30 years younger, so she could, you know, pass it on to her children and all that. So it was something very interesting. So we have so many such kind of things happen when you have a Neptune in a very interesting position.
True.
So Neptune need not necessarily be only about delusions, but it can also give something very interesting sometimes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So imagination. Yeah. So the mind thinks of a lot of things. The mind is a devil. Okay, the mind is a monkey, and it can think of all various things. And Neptune is that planet which can make a person's imagination very fertile. I mean, someone like an MF Hussain, for example, has a Neptune in a very strong position. So that makes him think of you know, a very interesting kind of you know, imaginary figures. And I mean, so many painters, so many people whose imaginations are very important. So many poets, for example. I mean, you're going to look at Rabindranath Tagore has a very powerful Neptune in his first house. Okay, he has Neptune and Pisces. So that makes him a great poet. So a poet needs a lot of imagination. So that is supplied by Neptune.
Ethereal.
Yeah. So, ethereal, yeah. So I was talking about the about Neptune being something which can't explain it. I mean, it's a marvel. There are certain creations of Neptune which can be extraordinary and amazing. I mean, if you look at one example, we're going to be talking about is Taj Mahal. So Taj Mahal is an ethereal beauty. So Taj Mahal was built by Shah Jahan, and we're going to look into charts of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz. Both of them were born about 1 year apart, but you'll see that both of them have Neptune in the same degree, and both of them are in deepest exaltation. Neptune in deepest exaltation in the same degree both of them have, and then this Mumtaz died, and Shah Jahan built the stone for her. So this is a very beauty. This is an ethereal beauty. When you look from a helicopter, it looks like something which is materialized out of nowhere. It's such a beautiful stuff, ethereally beautiful stuff. It's actually called as one of the wonders of the world, isn't it? So that wonder is something that materializes out of nowhere, and this was the imagination of Shah Jahan which came there. And if you actually look at it, it's a tragedy because it was built on the death of a person. So it's actually a tragedy which converted into beauty. Okay, so that can only happen if the Neptune is in the deepest exaltation. So that is what has happened in these two people's case. This is very interesting again.
Very, very amazing.
So all magical, mythical, probably you can run through all the words, you can just, we can actually, go through all the words. So if I'm going to look at it, so it's mythical, it looks very, when I'm saying unnatural doesn't mean in a negative sense, it's in a very positive sense. I mean, we're looking at something which doesn't look very natural. It looks wow, it's beyond natural. It's beyond nature. It looks very, very extraordinary, we are looking at that. And renunciation is a very important thing, which I've seen in Neptune's case. So there could be a person who may have a Neptune in the second house or the Neptune in the 11th house, and the person could be a business person. And we see a lot of, I've seen a lot of these Jain people, they renunciate everything. They may be born in a very, very nice family, rich family. The family is doing extremely well, but then they just leave everything. One fine day they think that I don't want all of these things. I just want to leave this and go. And they leave this. They just renunciate everything, and then they go into the path of moksha or in the path of spirituality. So that is actually indicated many a times in the charts as Neptune's placement. So Neptune is in the 9th house. Neptune is in the 2nd house. Neptune is in the 11th house. You just renunciate and go.
That's right. 9th, 2nd.
11, because 2nd and 11 indicate the profits and the money. So there is no Maya attached to money. They want to just leave the money and go. They feel that no, I don't want this money. I don't want profits. I don't want to be associated with anything to do with the financial aspect of life. So they renunciate and go. So when you have a Neptune in the 2nd or 11 and a person is religious and spiritual, then you may expect that the person can actually renunciate the money.
Yeah, and incidentally, if I remember well, K.N. Rao has Neptune in the 11th house.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't accept money actually. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
Neptune is amazing actually. Good to see.
Yeah. Okay, now we're looking at the unraveling the mysteries. Yes. Okay, delusions. We have talked about that a lot. And unraveling the mysteries of the world. Now, the Neptune is the biggest source of mysteries. I mean, we of course talk about Pluto and the 8th house. The 8th house being the house which is about mysteries. But the 12th house is even huge, even larger. The 12th house contains all the mysteries of the world. The deepest mysteries are actually found in the 12th house. So Neptune is the one which holds all the mysteries. So every mystery in the world, I mean, it can be something as simple as when did the world start? Okay, to the greatest, deepest mysteries we can think of, all of them are contained in the 12th house, and Neptune is a planet which actually indicates that. So people who have a very, very strong Neptune, most of the time they are connected with research. There are many PhDs. Many PhDs have seen that they have the Neptune in a very prominent position. In the 8th house, in the 12th house, Neptune people, they are all many times into research, unveiling some kind of mysteries or the other. It's always there.
Oh. So it takes 162 years.
Yeah, it takes 162 years for one entire revolution. And we have been like in this century. I mean, we wouldn't have really found anyone. Okay, so we have seen those people on the screen. So we have seen people who were born between 1911 to 1926, or we have read about them in the books. So we're talking about 1858 to 1860, 1874 are people like the Tatas, the Gandhis, the Vivekanandas, the Tagores. So whom we have only read about. We wouldn't have seen them physically. Or if you're looking at 1911 to 1926 is all about people like the Devanands, the Dilip Kumars, and the Raj Kapoors, and all of those people. So whom we have seen on the screen. So Neptune exalted people, or Neptune people with the Neptune in own house, we wouldn't have met, maybe in real life, but probably we are going to actually see. Now, this is something which is going to be going to get very, very exciting. Is that I'm waiting for this beautiful moment to come, and it's going to actually happen in about 5 years' time from now, and that is in 2022. Neptune is going to come into its own house. Okay, now that's going to be really, really beautiful, because Neptune is also together with Uranus, it is also the ruler of astrology. It also rules spirituality. So spirituality and astrology and all of these things are actually going to have a huge, I mean, it's going to become a part of our lives. It's already a part of our lives, but then it's going to probably be modernized. It's going to become something like astrology is something even now, it's not being considered as a proper science. But probably after Neptune comes in, there will be a greater acceptance of something like an astrology, all of these sciences, which many people with that so-called scientific temper, they call it as pseudosciences, which is I hate that word, So these sciences will all find their place. People will finally get into the Neptune era, where we are going to be more spiritual, we are going to be more accepting. Probably there will be much more peace, because what happened is in the last the era, it was about Pluto. Pluto got into its own house in 1990. Okay, so 1990s. The 1990s was the time when all the terrorist outfits in the world, they were all born in that 1990s. So probably as an antidote, we can expect the Neptune to give all the love, the spirituality, the healing. Maybe we associate Chiron for healing, but I would say Neptune is even bigger healing. Because spiritual healing can be even larger, even bigger. It can heal the soul. So all of those things can actually happen in the 14 years, the 16 years, which Neptune is going to stay in Pisces from 2022 to 2037. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be an amazing time.
Would Trump still be there?
No, he won't be there for sure.
You should do an analysis, one video with us on Donald Trump's horoscope.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, it's an amazing chart. It will be very interesting to read his chart. We'll do that.
Okay. So for the viewers, 14 years is what Neptune spends time in a sign or a house, whatever. It's exalted in Cancer. Okay. Its own sign is Pisces. Am I right?
Yes.
And 2022 onwards, it's going to be in its own sign. So if you want to have a child who's an you plan it that way. You plan it that way. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And so all of us, like you and me, we all may not have a Neptune in exaltation or an own house, but wherever Neptune is, as Sunilji has very clearly pointed out, I mean, there are so many things. It can indicate the delusion, it can indicate the spirituality, it can indicate the tragedy. Okay, maybe not as highly pronounced as it would be in an exalted person or an own house, but it is still there. It is still there, and it does impact us. Okay, so yeah.
So what's the symbol of Neptune?
Yeah, so this is a trident. I mean, I really not very sure about why it is so. I didn't really. I read it sometime long back, but then I forgot what is the significance. Yeah, but it's a very interesting thing. Yeah, so not very sure. Yeah, what exactly it is.
So looks like Lord Shiva's trident.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. All right.
But I'm sure there is nothing very. Lord Shiva is all about aggression, but there is nothing really aggressive about Neptune. Neptune is a very soft zodiac sign. So, I mean, a planet. So, Neptune won't be as aggressive as Shiva. You can't really associate Shiva with Neptune,
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Shiva is a, macho man. So, yeah, you can't really associate with him. Yeah.
So here we have.
Yeah. Yes. So this is really exciting. This is where it gets exciting. Is that we talked about Taj Mahal. Okay, we talked about Shah Jahan and Mumtaz. If you look into their charts,
Mhm.
okay, you will see that Neptune. I mean, okay, this is I don't have the time of birth. This is only taken for 12 p.m.
Mhm.
So we don't know exactly which house they have their Neptune. But if you look at the degree, if you look at the degree of Neptune, you will see that Neptune is in 21 degrees. And 21 degree is the deepest exaltation point for Neptune. Okay. And both of them have exactly in the same degree, despite the both of them being born 1 year apart. Okay. So despite the fact they have it in the same degree, so it has gone back and come back, but still it is there in the same degree. So they came together just to meet and then create this huge monument, the monument which will be an ethereal beauty, which will stay forever on the face of earth, and which will be like a magic, it will be a magical, and they call it as the teardrop on the face of the world, and it's a symbol of tragedy, but it's also a symbol of beauty. I mean, how can one's object can be the symbol of beauty as well as a symbol of tragedy, as well as a symbol of excellence, as well as a symbol of, I mean, it's like amazing, isn't it? So that symbolizes. So Taj Mahal exactly symbolizes what Neptune is all about. And if you see, both of them have it, Neptune in Cancer, Neptune is in 21 degrees, which is the deepest exaltation point. So Shah Jahan, actually, they say that Shah Jahan's reign was a golden era of the Mughal emperors. Amongst all the Mughal emperors, Shah Jahan had the best of times. So that again can be seen from the fact that he has Neptune in exaltation, because Neptune is all about, the best of times, the enjoyment. It's all about unadulterated enjoyment, ecstasy, happiness, everything flowing in. So Neptune can actually give abundance. It can give joy. It can give peace. It can give love. It can give and all. In that was also the time when he was the one. Most of the if you see the architecture, the Mughal architecture which we have at this point of time, which is still alive, they're all during his times, during Shah Jahan's times. I mean, so even the legacy that he has left behind. So the legacy, as I was associating the word with the Neptune again. So the legacy which is left behind is again, which is very ethereal, the beauty. All of that can be connected again to Neptune. So his time was the golden period, and the legacy that is left behind is also amazing.
True. Amazing, huh?
Yeah.
Neptune, Cancer.
Okay, now this is something very, very eerie, at times when I see this Titanic thing. Okay, now Neptune is the planet of the seas.
Yeah.
Okay, Neptune is the planet which indicates everything about Varuna. Varuna is the god of the seas. Okay, now this now these are exact birth details. Huh? I mean, we're talking about these two gentlemen. John Jacob Astor was the Bill Gates of the 19th century. He was the richest man in the world, one of the richest in the world, and he was, he was the richest in America, and he was traveling by the Titanic, and he lost his life in the Titanic. Okay, and if you see his Neptune is in its own house. It's in Pisces. And it is there in the 6th house. Okay. Now, okay, I'm not talking here about the planet X and Y. They're all in the 12th house, so he's lost his life and all that. But Neptune in Pisces, Neptune in the 6th house. 6th house is the house of struggle. 6th house is the house of, extraordinary problems and challenges and all that. And then there you have Neptune in its own house. And Neptune you're talking about is Pisces. So that is actually it's coming from water. So his struggle is going to come from water, is what you can see from Neptune's placement in the 6th house. Okay, and then what happened? He went and he died. Okay, in the ship. Now, if you look at the chart of the captain of the ship, this again is accurate birth detail. Okay, very interesting. You see, what you see is that his Neptune is there in the 8th house. Okay, so the Neptune's placement in the 8th house shows very clearly that his death is going to come in water.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8th house is all about death, and Neptune is nothing but water. Neptune is all about that sea. Neptune is sea. And so his death was waiting to happen in the water. It's amazing that these two people are, like we have the birth details of these two gentlemen, and we can correlate it. Now, I'm going to say something even more eerie, even more astonishing thing is that when did Titanic sink? Titanic sank in 1912 when Neptune just got into exaltation.
Oh my God.
Okay. Neptune just got into exaltation and Titanic sunk. Okay, which is an extraordinary thing.
And it's a sign.
So Neptune is about water. Neptune rules the seas. Okay, and so something which is connected to the seas was supposed to happen. And what else other than a tragedy? Is a tragedy, isn't it? It's a tragedy. And it is the seas, it is the water, and the planet just got exalted. It came into the best position. And this ship, which was supposed to be unsinkable, it sank. So everything is coming together. Neptune, water, sea. Okay, something which is a tragedy. And the ship, if you see, was also a ship which was like, which they say was a miracle. It's a marvel. The ship was like, RMS Titanic was supposed to be a beauty. It was a beauty by itself. And it sunk. It's like a Taj Mahal, but this one sunk in water. So it's all coming together. This is like an amazing example of what Neptune can do. And this is of the highest order and the negative order, of course. We're talking about a negative implication of what Neptune can do.
And John Jacobs' horoscope, he's got Neptune in the 6th house. And normally we take 6th house for accidents and akala mrityu, untimely death.
Yes. So his untimely death has happened in the water.
Yeah.
Which is Neptune. And it has happened more. The reason is because it is Pisces. Because it is there in Pisces. Neptune is in its own house. So when it is in the own house, the impact is much more higher. Yeah. And in the captain's chart, it is there in the 8th house, and Neptune is there in the 8th house, and Neptune is the water, and the death is coming from water.
Correct. I can probably share John F. Kennedy's.
We're going to be discussing John F. Kennedy's chart.
We're going to be discussing?
Yeah, we're going to be discussing his chart.
Okay, I'm going to be taking John F. Kennedy Jr.'s horoscope. But later, okay, when we come to John F. Kennedy, okay, we'll take that because here water came, so I just thought. Okay, so next chart is Titanic, George V.
Yeah, so this is King George V, and see, this is an example of how when you have a planet in the first house. The first house is the house of the personality. First house indicates who you are as a person. The first house indicates how big you are. Okay, what are the big things that you can achieve in life and all that. So he has Neptune in the first house. So having the Neptune in the first house gives him that kind of the planet stays for 160 plus years. So we're looking at his power, okay, transcending to so many years, so many number of years. Okay, he's going to be there for a long, long time. Okay, a very interesting thing which can be corroborated from the Neptune in the first house and also the Saturn in the 8th house, Saturn exalted in the 8th house, is that his son, King George V's son, okay, the Prince Albert, was the one who abdicated the throne. Okay, so Saturn in the 8th house shows abdication, so you give away everything. So what it shows is that the 11th Lord being exalted, the 11th Lord indicates the second half of his life. So what it shows is that the future of his kingdom, his legacy is not going to be there because it was abdicated by his son. And the Neptune in the first house, what it does is it shows the tragedy which is going to actually befall his legacy, his people. So the first, Neptune is also about legacy. So when you have a prominent Neptune in the first house, it shows that, okay, he has achieved greatness, but then there is a tinge of sadness or the tinge of tragedy which is yet to happen in his life. And the tragedy is that he or his descendants are not going to be kings. It's going to be over with him. And that's exactly what's happened. So that is corroborated also by Saturn in the 8th house. Saturn exalted in the 8th house, which is an amazing. I mean, so both of them put together make what King George is all about.
You know, this chart, Neptune being in the Lagna,
Yeah.
do you think so? He was like under some illusion and he did not realize what's going to happen to him.
Yeah, maybe. Yes. Maybe. Yeah. True. He could have been. He could have been into that kind of a delusion. Yes. Yeah.
Rabindranath.
Maybe. True. See, what happens is, Rabindranath Tagore, yeah. Now, Rabindranath Tagore has a Neptune in the first house. So that makes him, so now Neptune in Pisces, in its own house, is what makes him a great poet. I mean, okay, of course, his Jupiter is exalted in the 5th house. That is also very true. Now, if you look at Tagore's chart, he has the planet of knowledge in exaltation, which is Jupiter. He also has the planet of wisdom, okay, which is Neptune, in its own house in the 1st house. So his 10th lord exalted Jupiter, okay, in the 5th house, okay, makes him a great poet. And the great wisdom comes from the fact that he has Neptune in the 1st house. So the combination of Neptune and Jupiter, the planet of wisdom and knowledge in their most strongest position, that makes who he is. So the combination of these two bodies is it's like amazing. I mean, like Neptune, Jupiter, wow. And he was so wise, and all the words that that came out of his mouth were like amazing. So that wisdom comes from a very simple fact that the Neptune is there in his 1st house and Jupiter is exalted. So only when Jupiter is exalted, okay, so he would have been maybe a lyricist or a small time guy, doing some kind of a job here and there, or he may be a popular, a lyricist in a country or a songwriter or something he could have been. But we're talking about a legendary, a poet whose legacy is going to last for a long, long time. And money was never his, idea. Okay, he was even more very highly spiritual. So all of those things can be attributed to the Neptune in the 1st house. Okay, now this is we're looking at a chart where Neptune is there in the 2nd house, and Giovanni was a founder of Fiat. Okay, so the entire Fiat empire, okay, which of course in this century it is actually gone to the dogs now. Okay, but in the 19th century and in the 20th century, of course, it was like a huge organization. Fiat was phenomenal. I mean, in Italy, or it can be Europe or the entire world, they were doing so beautifully well. And Fiat cars were supposed to be marvels. Fiat cars were supposed to be, like absolute wonders. And the person with a Neptune in a very strong position in the 2nd house, ensured that he made all his money. So even the money, when it gives you money, I mean, when Neptune is in its own house or in exaltation in the 2nd house, the money that comes in can be extraordinary. It's something which is, it's beyond your imagination. So it is that kind of a, money that comes in when you have a very strong Neptune in the 2nd house. Yeah. So now this is that chart. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi's horoscope is that one horoscope which actually made me do all the research, because you look into this chart. If you use traditional astrology, you will not be able to explain why Mahatma Gandhi is Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, look at a man who has had legendary battles. His battles were not normal.
Okay.
I mean, he was like historic battles. I mean, it can be a Dandi March, or it can be that
Quit India movement.
Yeah, Quit India movement, and he was also a person who's like, if you're looking at his Venus and Mars in the 1st house in Libra, makes him do that non-violent movement. So he's not an aggressive Aries, but he's a Libran, okay, which makes him, a soft, like a person who approaches things in a very peaceful manner.
Right.
But his fights were legendary. Yeah. And the fights that he had, the kind of a pain that he would have been through is amazing. I mean, and look at this gentleman. His picture is there in every currency, but he's not one person who actually accumulated currency. In, yeah, he never left a legacy of millions of dollars. Okay, he never had his children, doing so well and all that. So he lived a Spartan life. He lived a life of a very poor person. I mean, he was very similar to a very poor man on the street. He had a struggle life, epic struggles. And then finally, what happened to him? He gave his life. Okay, his life was taken away. Now, all of these things that we're talking about can never be explained by any other planet. I mean, Sun in the 12th house, it can make you go to a foreign country. What else can it give you? Can it explain this kind of a legendary struggle that he had? No. I mean, it can only be explained when you include Neptune in own house in the 6th house. Then it becomes huge. Then it also shows the tragedy. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi's life finally ended in a tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he had to leave his life. I mean, his life was taken away.
Exactly.
Okay, now another example where we have how, like Neptune can actually give you huge powers and huge control. Okay, when you have a Neptune very powerfully placed in the 10th house. So in this chart also, if you see, none of the traditional planets are in exaltation, or I mean, there is a Sun which is weak. None of his Saturn is in debilitation, or it's in fall. Okay, or none of his planets are exalted. The only planet which is very powerfully placed in this chart is the Neptune in the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career, and when you have a Neptune in the 10th house, then you can have a legendary career. You can have a career which has no boundaries, which can encompass the larger world, and your impact can be left on millions of people. So I mean, very, very simple. This chart is very clearly an example of what Neptune can do. A very powerfully placed Neptune, of course. His Neptune is not just placed there; it is in its own house, and in the 10th house of career. So that's what took him to the heights of career. Now, this is one chart which is really amazing. Okay, Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya is a huge figure, and he's called as Pandit not for any reason, but he was the one who established the BHU, the Banaras Hindu University, which is one of the largest in the world, probably the largest in Asia. And he was also incidentally the Congress president twice. He was elected, but that's all secondary. The most important thing that is associated with Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya is all about him being a great teacher, and he was also an author and a writer. He was also the editor of a few magazines.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you see in this chart? You see Neptune in its own house in the 9th house. So 9th house is the house of knowledge.
Right.
9th house indicates you being a teacher, you being a coach, you being a writer, author. And what does Pandit have? Pandit has Neptune in its own house, which happens once in 160 years, in the 9th house. So 9th house of knowledge, there you have Neptune, which is the higher octave of knowledge. So that made him the greatest person that you can think of for knowledge. And that is the reason he was the one who founded the BHU. Yeah. So amazing example again, what Neptune can do. Okay, now Pandit Motilal Nehru, another example. If you see, both these gentlemen were born just about a year apart, and both the gentlemen have the same Neptune in the same place. Okay, which makes it so interesting. So when Neptune is there in the 9th house, the Neptune in the 9th house made one person a writer, author, and also someone who established a institution of knowledge. And we have another gentleman who the 9th house is also everything about law. Yeah. Okay. So 9th house, you have Pandit Motilal Nehru having Neptune in the 9th house, which makes him a great lawyer. I mean, he was a great barrister. Yeah. Yeah. He was one of the biggest known barristers of those times, and he was so popular. And the Nehru Commission report, which is written, is also very, very important. I mean, so all of these reports, writing something, so the report that he wrote for, against the British, which was a very, very interesting report. So all of these things, I would corroborate the fact that Neptune is all about, it's there in the 9th house with Mercury. Okay, that makes him the great barrister that he is. And of course, he was also incidentally a Congress president, elected a president twice, like Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. Very interesting. He
Very,
was also a person who had a, who was also running newspapers.
yeah. Mercury,
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, Mercury is also there, but Neptune is very powerful there. I mean, Neptune is like, it
See,
comes once in 160 years, and that planet there in the ninth house. So that gives that legacy. The legacy that is going to last for a long time. So obviously his legacy has been there. It's there, still there. It is there. Yeah.
okay. Oh, Ram.
Uh, yes. Now we are looking into. Okay, now he's the current generation. I mean, of the Neptune. So see, it's very simple. When you have a the seventh house and the ninth house, these are the two houses which indicate law,
Yeah.
and the people with the strongest seventh house and strongest ninth house become the best lawyers in the world. And Ram Jethmalani has been the biggest known lawyer in the country. And look at his Neptune. He has Neptune in 26 degrees, which is the one of the deepest exaltation. I mean, from 21 degrees to 25 degrees is what the deepest exaltation of Neptune stays.
Okay.
And he has in 26 degrees, which makes him a legend. Okay. And he's a legend in the field of law. And for Mr. Jethmalani, it is the third Lord exalted. So third house is also about communication. It's about talking.
Hmm.
So communication planet exalted in the seventh house, which makes him a great lawyer. Okay, and he also had a lot of influence on the politics. Actually, if you look at it, seventh house also indicates politics in a big way. So he was a lawyer as well as having an influence on the politics, which is very clearly indicated by the Neptune in the seventh house. And if you look at his chart, there are no other planets which really indicate that he's such a great lawyer. Now, Dorabji Tata, okay, now see the fifth house is extremely important when you have a person who, I mean, like fifth house indicates a lot of things. One of the thing it indicates is the fame, popularity, name, and showbiz, media, and all that. But one interesting thing the fifth house also indicates is establishing industries, establishments. Establishing things is indicated by the fifth house. So Dorabji Tata was the one who established Tata Steel, Telco, Tata Electric Company, and so many other. I mean, there are three major institutions which are like the Navarat. I mean, they're huge. They are billion-dollar corporations today, and they were all established by Sir Dorabji Tata, and that is we're talking about so many years back. So he has the Neptune in its own house, in the fifth house. Of course, he has got a very good moon and sun, but only moon and sun cannot give you that kind of a greatness, So we'll have so many people born with moon and sun in own house in a year, but we'll have a Neptune own house person in fifth house once in 160 years. So Neptune in the fifth house made him create industries which are legacies, which will stay for a long time to come. So that's what he did. Now this is this is an amazing chart actually. Okay, Mr. M.G. Ramachandran, and he's a huge figure. I don't know how many of the people in the north may not know him, but he's a huge figure. He's the one which redefined the politics in Tamil Nadu. And if you look at his chart, I mean, it's a very interesting story is that this gentleman was born in Sri Lanka. So he was born in Sri Lanka. Yeah, he was born in Sri Lanka. He's basically a Keralite. He was born in Sri Lanka. His father was working there. He was born in Sri Lanka, but then he came to India, and then he became a huge film star. And in the later part of his life, he also became the chief minister. So which is like an amazing story. So if you look at his chart, he has the seventh lord Neptune exalted in the 11th house.
Okay.
So the seventh lord Neptune is exalted in the 11th house. Now 7th house indicates two things. 7th house indicates one is fame, popularity as a film actor, as a someone who has mass appeal is indicated by the 7th house. And he had extraordinary mass appeal. And when you also have the 7th house is also connected to politics. And the 11th house actually indicates the second half of life. So the older you get, the more successful you become is indicated by the 11th house. I mean, people who have a very strong 11th house in their 60s and 70s, they become very, very strong and powerful. So that's exactly what happened to Mr. MGR. He was a great actor. I mean, the seventh lord exalted made him a, like a very, very popular figure. He was actually more popular than even a Rajnikant of today, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a Tamilian, so I can vouch for that, you know.
Okay.
So he had this mass appeal, which is phenomenal.
Okay.
He was like a god actually in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
And so maybe like the person who took away the mantle of MGR now is Rajnikant. So this gentleman had the masses in his, in his control. He could sway the masses the way he wanted. Okay, and with his movies, he actually, touched people's lives, and he changed the entire political scenario. He's changed using his films. So that is indicated by the seventh lord being exalted, and his success, even as a politician in the later part of the life, is indicated by the its exaltation in the 11th house. It is really amazing. I mean, it's a fabulous chart.
This time of birth is verified?
This time of birth is given by Dr. K. N. Rao.
Achha.
This is the true birth detail which was given by Mr. Ramachandran to Dr. K. N. Rao.
Achha. Okay.
His actual date of birth is mentioned as 17 January 17.
Okay.
But this is the birth detail which Mr. MGR confessed to Dr. K. N. Rao.
Okay.
And Dr. K. N. Rao has written an article on this.
Achha.
Yeah. So when you use that birth date which is there, you will not get a correct result. But when you use this, which is according to Rao, this is the correct birth detail, and when you use this, you get the clear picture.
Okay. Oh, my favorite chart.
Yeah. So now this is something very similar to. I mean, if you look at MGR's chart, this chart, the same placement is there. The same Neptune getting exalted. So Neptune is the seventh lord getting exalted in the 11th house. So what made him a politician is the seventh lord being exalted. Okay, but what is happening here is that he also has Saturn, which is in debilitation in the 11th house. Okay, and he also has a Mars in the 8th house and the Uranus in the 6th house. Uranus is in own house in the 6th house. Mars is in own house in the 8th house, and Saturn is debilitated or in fall. I would say it's in fall in the 11th house, which actually killed him, which actually shortened his life. So despite the fact that Kennedy became the president, he had the seventh lord exalted. The seventh house gave him the sway over the masses, control over the masses. He was like a mythical figure. Okay, but probably the tragic part of Neptune took over.
Okay.
And he died. And of course, all the other planets like Saturn, Uranus, and Mars combined together, ensured that his life was not as long as you would like it.
One question, why do you say Saturn is in fall? Are you using Western astrology in?
No, Saturn own house is Capricorn. No, so this is in Cancer. Okay. So it's an opposite.
Okay, you all call it fall. Okay.
Yeah, it's fall. So it's in a weak position.
Okay.
So exaltation opposite is debilitation, and own house opposite is fall.
Fall. Okay.
And Uranus in the 6th house, also a reason why he was shot dead. So the bullets. Yeah.
Okay, Uranus here. Okay.
Uranus in the 6th house, in its own house, basically. It is in its own house. So the 6th house obviously is tragedy and problems. So the tragedy comes in the form of bullets. And the Mars in the 8th house actually killed him. That's the reason why he died. Yeah.
Marlon Brando, oh my God, the Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather. And look at his chart. He's like, his 5th lord is exalted in 9th. For him, it is 5th lord. 5th house is, Pisces. So the 5th lord exalted in 9th house. Yeah. Okay. So the fifth house indicates fame as a film star, and the 9th house is all about luck. So he was obviously lucky as a film star, and Neptune gave him that aura. It gave that aura of a guy who's like, who's amazing, isn't it? He was one of the greatest actors ever known in the world, and he emanated something which is so ethereal. And look at his Neptune is in deep exaltation. It's in 24 degrees. So it's like he was Godfather. As a Godfather, no one could have played Godfather better than him. or all of those roles, even those in as a youngster, all those roles that he played as a tragic, a young man, tragedy in love and all of that. All of those movies were really awesome, and they are like etched in memories forever. And the beauty that he was Marlon Brando is the equivalent of our let's say Devanand or a Dilip Kumar in the Western countries. He was a mythical figure.
Yeah.
He was a figure who will be like, the movies came alive because of this guy.
Yeah.
So it can only be felt. You can't express it. The beauty of Marlon Brando. Yes, now we have our Dilip Saab, the king of tragedy, and he has the Neptune and exaltation in the 7th house. The 7th house is the house of popularity. The 7th house indicates influence on the masses. The 7th house indicates you shining as a star. The 7th house is normally the natural house of Libra. So Libra is all about arts, creativity, beauty, and all that. And he has also. So Neptune again is in 25 degrees. So
Deep exaltation.
Deep exaltation. So all the three gentlemen, Dilip Kumar, Devanand, Raj Kapoor, then also our N.T. Ramarao, all of them have Neptune in 24-25 degrees. All of these people who are like mythical figures. And imagine Dilip Kumar was called as the king of tragedy. So he held that sway over the masses. Neptune and deepest exaltation, that is what makes him what he is. You cannot explain the chart of Dilip Saab without Neptune. It's very, very difficult to say why he is the great legendary figure. The way he used to appear on the screen, you can experience it. You can't say it. You can't express it. Actually, yeah. So that is that beauty, that mythical influence that he had on the masses is all indicated by Neptune here.
So do you also is there something called past life astrology with Neptune associated? I'm just asking from Western astrology point of view.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, probably. Yeah, could be. I have not gone into it. Yeah, maybe Neptune can indicate. Maybe if it is in the 8th house, maybe it can indicate something to do with the past life.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. That's something. Yeah.
I wanted to show the chart of Amitabh Bachchan. Take a break from the PowerPoints and share Amitabh Bachchan's chart. It's my favorite chart. So he has Neptune in the 8th house. Let me draw it. Okay. And it is with so many planets, Now, the reason I took up Amitabh Bachchan's chart is with Rahu in the 7th house. Okay. I used to always associate because it's in Leo. Okay. And Rahu is what you call shows addictions, alcohol also. And 7th house Rahu can give that kind of thing, and it also shows the persona. So whenever he's played a role of a Muslim man, or he's done a drunkard scene, okay, like in Amar Akbar Anthony and Mard, and the famous Sharabi, and all that, Mukaddar Ka Sikandar. Amazing. Whenever he's played with alcohol, okay. He's, coming from a movie background, where we always used to discuss who can do the best acting of a drunkard. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Dilip Kumar was considered as the best, but it is said that Amitabh Bachchan took over.
Yeah, true.
Amitabh Bachchan took over, okay, in the drunkard scenes. So I used to always consider this as Rahu. Now, in case we take addictions and alcoholism, especially with Neptune, so his Neptune is in the 8th house. Okay. So how do I explain?
See, Neptune is also the planet which indicates make-believe.
Okay.
Neptune is the planet which indicates something which is not there, but it appears to be there. So actually, I mean, if you look at Amitabh Bachchan, he was not in real life, he's a teetotaler. I mean, he's not someone who drinks.
No, but he
But
used to drink earlier.
yeah, he used to drink earlier. Yes, correct. Yeah.
I'm told एक पूरा खंबा निकल जाता था.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But his make believe, his make believe is so beautiful that he can portray a drunkard even better than the most drunk person, probably, you know. So maybe that's what is indicated by Neptune in the 8th house. Okay. See, I have an explanation for Neptune, for Amitabh Bachchan's Neptune in the 8th house. Another, if you look at, I mean, make believe is one thing. Second thing is that Neptune is his second lord. His second lord, it is Neptune is his second lord, and second lord is in fall in the 8th house. Okay. So, what happened with his business? So second house is about money. 8th house is about other people's money. And he has his own money's planet in the 8th house, which is other people's money in a fall. So what happened? He borrowed money and whatever, and then he got into debts. So the 8th house is about debts, and that is where he has his Neptune in a fall, which created him have a lot of debts.
Okay. Okay. Still, maybe today I'm still back to my original Rahu in the 7th. You know.
Okay.
Where his Rahu in the 7th house, in the sign of Leo and love. Leo is the natural 5th house.
Correct.
Only this man can say the dialogue, you know. Mem saab tum aati ho na maut aati hai, lekin khoob gaati hai. You know. Only this man can say it. Nobody else can do it better. Anyway, let's go to the other charts. But he's my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine too. Mine too. Yeah.
Although Dilip Kumar has also played the role of drunkard so well.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. You know.
Yes.
Okay, Raj Kapoor.
Yeah. So look at Raj Kapoor's chart. He has, I mean, he has a lot of planets well placed. I mean, he has Saturn exalted. Venus is in own house, and of course Uranus is in his 8th house, and Neptune is there in the ascendant in in deep exaltation. So Neptune, I mean, Raj Kapoor was called as the showman. The word show comes from Neptune. I mean, so what the illusion, the Maya, what is not there, you're showing that. And in fact, movies are the biggest expressions of Neptune.
Right.
Because you are showing something which is not there, it's not a reality. It's an illusion on the screen, isn't it? So the man who can be the greatest showman of India has Neptune exalted in the 1st house, and that is what makes him a great showman.
And that too with Rahu, which is again an illusionary photography planet, and Moon, creativity.
Moon, absolutely. Moon also together. Yeah. So that's a brilliant combination in the 1st house, and of course the Saturn in the 4th house is what makes him a producer, and the Uranus in the 8th house also made him go bankrupt at times. Also, he had health issues, and all of that can be attributed to the Uranus in the 8th house and all that. Yeah. So brilliant chart again. I mean, you can show the showman in Raj Kapoor with the Neptune in the 1st house. So, N.T. Rama Rao, I mean, wow, what a chart he has got. And N.T. Rama Rao is that one man who was like a god on screen. Yeah. And not just god on screen, he was also god on real life. So, people used to worship him as Krishna. Yeah. People used to worship him as Ram. Yeah. I mean, it's like he has in 20 or 22 degrees, which is deep exaltation. So, he was God. He was a demigod. He was a literally living God. So Neptune exalted in the 10th house, okay, made him reach that kind of a great position. And he also look at Uranus in the 5th house in its own house, okay, which made him a film actor. And Uranus at that point of time is one, Uranus associated with something new. So the industry, the film industry and all of these things were new at that point of time. It's a modern industry at that point of time. And then, of course, the Neptune exalted in the 10th house also made him take it to another level where he became the chief minister of the state. Okay. So, and Neptune also is the one which is responsible for his demigod, like the features which he had done it on the screen. It's a make-believe world, and Neptune is all about make-believe, and it made him look a god, and people believe that he's a god, which is amazing, which can be beautifully explained by Neptune in the 10th house.
Okay, I want to ask you and go back. to remind, just clarify, Devanand also had Neptune in the 10th house, and so did Marlon
Yes.
Brando. So did Marlon
Yes.
Brando. So basically,
Yes. No,
Neptune
no,
is.
no. Marlon Brando has it as fifth lord exalted and ninth.
Okay,
For him, it is the fifth lord exalted.
let me just double check if you're sure about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, he says in the 9th, but Devanand is 10th.
Yes, Devanand is 10th. See, I'll tell you, even our N.T. Ramarao, even our Charlton Heston has it in the 10th house. Even
Really?
Devanand has it in the 10th house.
Oh, so some kind of Neptune in the 10th makes you like a mythical figure.
Yeah, and specifically because he has it in exaltation, isn't it? I mean, it's in deep exaltation. So if you have a 10th house Neptune, but it is just placed, then probably you will do well in that area sphere. You can be a sort of a person who has some kind of your aura around you is much more larger than what you are.
Yeah.
But for a person like an N.T. Ramarao or a Devanand, it is much larger. And even if you look at Charlton Heston used to play what N.T. Ramarao plays in India. He was playing in the Hollywood.
Yeah.
So Charlton Heston used to play all those epic roles,
Epic roles.
gods.
Right. Moses. And right at the start of your slide, you did mention Neptune, mythical and mystical.
Absolutely.
So that fits in so well over here.
Yes. Very interesting chart again. Mr. Rao, if you see, he has his 7th lord exalted in 11th. Neptune becomes the 7th lord. The 7th lord is exalted in the 11th house.
Okay.
So 7th house is politics. 11th house is second half of life. And Mr. Rao actually quit politics. He was on the verge of quitting and he was made the prime minister. Okay. How interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, normally, what does house-wise placement? Because you've shown so many charts with Neptune in the 11th house, So normally, what does Neptune in the 11th house? What does it indicate?
See, if you now I have shown all charts which are either having Neptune in own house or in exaltation. So which is which is a very prominent position. So now if you're looking at all the other people, like people like you and me who may just have a Neptune in the 11th house, as I said, 11th house can mean many things. It can, see, the beauty, the interesting thing about Neptune is that you don't know it is a positive expression or a negative expression.
Yeah.
Okay. If it is a positive expression, then the person can have money can be something which flows in. The person doesn't have account, but the money just keeps coming in. Okay, and whatever the person touches, the money just comes in because you have a Neptune in the 11th house. Or you may have something which is very mythical. You're doing something which is different. Even alcohol is connected to the Neptune. So people who are into the business of alcohol, people who are into the business of anything to do with addiction, all of those people can actually have very good, people who are into the business of liquids. So it can be even pharmaceuticals. So all of these people can have very good flow when they have a Neptune in the 11th house. But the 11th house can also mean you, as I said before, if you are a spiritually oriented person, you can actually quit and go. I've seen a lot of, as I said, Jain sadhus, young sadhus who become sadhus. They have either the 2nd house Neptune or 11th house Neptune because they're disillusioned with money. Yeah. They're disillusioned with anything to do with profits in life. So they just want to leave it and go. So it can mean that.
Okay. I just realized we had discussed about tragedy and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Devanand's, not Devanand, Dilip Kumar.
Yeah.
Dilip Kumar has Neptune in the 7th house of relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
See, here it is. This is, and we know his problem with that, the most beautiful lady in Bollywood.
Yeah. Madhubala.
Madhubala. The most beautiful. It went to a court case,
Yeah,
what I've always noticed is Neptune in 1-7 axis. Okay. Somewhere down the line, there is a big illusion in life that carries on for a long time.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
just
You're right.
carries on, carries on, carries on. It is amazing, amazingly. I found this working because I remember at the very start of this show, I said about Neptune in the first house. You know,
Yeah.
okay. So if this axis is somewhere, the more it is this thing, closer to Lagna degree, the more it
Hmm.
has the effect, obviously. But that
True.
illusion goes on. One person, one of my friend's wife, okay, she's got Neptune in the seventh house, and the friend incidentally is having probably extramarital affairs, okay, and she knows it. She knows it. She accepts it, but she worships the husband. You know,
Yeah.
and
Very true.
it's somehow if you don't have a husband, you'll have probably a relationship with a mythical figure. You know,
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
because Neptune is mythical. So it
Yeah.
can transform into various things. But I really find I'm not trying to compare Neptune and this thing. What do you call? But I find Neptune more fascinating than Uranus. Of course, I can be wrong. My study is
Yeah,
limited.
you're absolutely right. You're very right in saying that actually, because Neptune, Uranus, like it's something which is sudden, something about revolution, something about change. But Neptune has got so many shades. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's like so many positive shades and so many negative shades. I mean, you don't know exactly what that seventh house Neptune means. Then seventh house Neptune can mean, as you said, the husband having extramarital relationships. Or I saw this chart of someone, I just forgot. This lady, had a Neptune in the seventh house, and for about 22 years of marriage, she thought that her husband is a great guy and all of that. And after 22 years, she found that the husband was actually married to another lady simultaneously for 22 years.
My God, can't believe this. Can't believe this.
And you know what? I'll tell you the very very interesting thing is that I found I to look into the chart of that other lady, and I found that she also has Neptune in the seventh house.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can't believe this.
Yeah, so it was like so
You know,
there was
I,
a secret.
I think, there's one lesson for viewers, whether we believe in Uranus, Neptune, Pluto or not, just can't ignore Neptune. We
Yeah,
just can't ignore it. Let's go to Indira Gandhi. Okay, she's got Neptune in the first house.
yeah. So she has got Neptune exalted in the first house, the ninth lord exalted in the first house. So which which makes her lucky. She also inherited the legacy from her father.
Okay.
Okay, so she's born in a very great family, and so she being a leader is
Hmm.
indicated by the Neptune in the first house. So there was a time when India means Indra, SSF slogan chalta tha. So that all of that is indicated by Neptune in the first house. So it made her a legendary figure.
Hmm.
And now look at, this is one chart where you can also see the impact of Uranus.
Mhm.
Uranus is in its own house in the eighth house.
Hmm.
Okay. And the own house, Uranus in the eighth house, actually was responsible for her death. And she was killed with bullets. Okay, so the Uranus indicates eighth house indicates death. Uranus indicates the bullets. Uranus indicates firing. Okay, and so the legendary life is indicated by the Neptune in the first house, and the Saturn, which is in fall in the first house, indicates that her life is going to be short. Or maybe the so many opposition, that is the seventh lord. Being the seventh lord, she also had challenges in marital life.
Hmm.
Also, the seventh house indicates the public life, so which means she also had during the emergency and the other period she had a popularity dipped a bit. Okay, because of the Saturn being weak, and her death is due. I mean, the death which was so brutal, okay, and sudden. It again comes from the Uranus, which is there in the eighth house, in its
Yeah.
own house. So very powerful Uranus, very powerful Saturn, and very powerful Neptune
Hmm.
and a weak Saturn. These three planets indicate a life.
Prince.
Yeah. So this is something very okay. This is one chart which I put up here just for the we wanted to have something example for the eighth house.
Mhm.
Now this Prince Albert Victor was a very controversial figure.
Mhm.
He died in his 40s, early 40s or late 30s. I don't remember.
Mhm.
He just toured around the world, But what was very interesting is that they say that he contracted syphilis, and then he also died young, and his death is not known yet. So he suddenly one fine day he was found dead. It is not known he was killed or he was, how he died. Nobody knows. And the very, very, very interesting story is that he is probably the Jack the Ripper. Now, Jack the Ripper was one legendary story which was in England about one serial killer.
Serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah, serial killer who has killed so many people. And there is a lot of stories and there is a lot of suspects around Prince Albert Victor being the Jack the Ripper. Now, if you look at his chart, Neptune is there in the 8th house.
Correct.
Okay, so Neptune is the planet of Maya. Neptune is the planet of secrets, mysteries, and that is there in the 8th house. 8th house is the house of death. 8th house also indicates sexual diseases. Okay, 8th house also indicates sexuality. Okay, so they also say that he is a homosexual. So, and there you have Neptune, and his death is also shrouded in mystery, and we don't know why he died. So, it's something amazing. I mean, Neptune in the 8th house has made his entire life so mysterious.
Yeah.
And till now, we don't know what has happened to him. Yeah.
True. Where is Netaji's Neptune? Would you remember?
Netaji's Neptune, I don't remember. But he has, of course, Uranus is in exaltation in the 8th. Neptune. Netaji has Neptune in the, I think in the, I don't know.
1 second. Let me just check.
Yeah, I'll also check.
I don't mind. It's because his death is, this is like online research on the spot. Double check. Just check. Because some connection to the 8th house Neptune should have, an indirect at least. I'm opening the Uranus file.
PPT? Yeah.
We have taken Netaji in it. Okay, I'm getting it. Okay, Netaji has Mesha Lagna.
Neptune in the 2nd house. Yeah.
Sorry?
He's a 12th lord. It is a 12th lord for him actually.
Okay. So again, 12th lord is one's exit from the world.
Yeah.
One's exit from the world. Okay. And it's in the 2nd house looking at the 8th house.
Yeah.
And it is with you're taking his Lagna as Mesh Lagna, right?
Mesh Lagna, yeah, Mesh Lagna.
Okay, and it is with the 8th lord. So again,
yes.
This thing is shrouded with
mystery.
Okay. Let's go back to our Neptune. Jack the Ripper. Okay. So this explains his death also, Neptune in the 8th.
Correct. Yes, true. Yeah.
Oh, here comes the interesting part.
Yeah. Now, if you see, interesting thing is that many of these organizations, okay, and most of the organizations, if you see, they are all connected with make-believe. If you look at the MGM, the Warner Brothers, the Walt Disney, all of them are make-believe companies. They make believe, they make a show, they make something which is not there. And BBC, of course, is they broadcast the news, and so again, it is something which you can hear. You can feel things. And USSR, they were living in that kind of an ironclad thing, and no one knew what is happening inside USSR for a long time.
Yeah.
It was a country shrouded in mystery.
Correct.
It was till the USSR broke up in 1991. No one knew what was happening inside USSR. It was a mystery. It was complete mystery.
Correct.
Okay, and of course, the Rose Bowl is like a wow stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. Wembley Stadium is something really, really beautiful, legendary stadium. So these are all institutions which lasted for long. I mean, it's a legacy. And even IBM, for example, like something which is lasting for a long, long time. Mercedes-Benz is something which is beauty, which is about that Neptune's artistic beauty. Something which is an ethereal beauty. It's a class apart. So that is also indicated. So all of these organizations have that shade of Neptune in them. Very interesting.
Very interesting. Very, very.
Okay, now, as I said, the interesting thing is that, Neptune is going to come into transit. Neptune is going to come into its own house in 2022.
Mhm.
So when it transits into 2022, there are so many people who are very popular, who are very famous. Okay, they have their Neptune in weaker positions. Okay, and you will see that probably they go through some challenging times
Okay.
after Neptune comes in, not immediately in 2022, but probably between 2022 to 2037. So probably that is a time when they may face those challenges. Their biggest challenges in life may come during that time.
Mhm.
I mean, looking at for example, we just talked about how Amitabh Bachchan has got his Neptune in the 8th house.
Mhm.
Okay, and Neptune becoming powerful in 2022 onwards. Yeah, it's not going to be good for him. Okay, so it can give him some challenges. Narendra Modi, of course, he has his Neptune in the 12th house, and even his Neptune is in fall. So Narendra Modi and Amitabh Bachchan, both of them have Neptune in fall, and Neptune becoming very strong can be a challenge for them. Shah Rukh Khan for Shah Rukh Khan, Neptune will come into the 8th house, so it can mean a huge transformation in his life. So probably from 2022 onwards, he may no longer be a superstar. As an actor, maybe he can get into a producer role.
Correct.
He may bring in his son. There can be transformation in his role. He may launch his son as an actor, and he may take a back seat and all of that. Even Salman Khan, Neptune is going to come into the 12th house. So
Okay.
probably he may no longer be the number one star, and things can go downhill. So a lot of people, I mean, even Rajnikant or Sunil Gavaskar, many people actually, many legendary figures.
Mhm.
See, the legendary people. The problem with the legendary people is that even when the problems come in, they only, or the positive thing about the legendary people, the big people, is that people who are very larger, is that the troubles also comes to them only during the transit of a planet when it is a very strong planet. So a Jupiter or a Mercury or a Mars will not impact them as much as a Saturn or a Uranus or a Neptune's transit. So the transit of larger planets will have a larger impact on these people.
Okay.
So it's going to be impacting everyone's life. I mean, Neptune's transit is going to be really beautiful. I am looking forward to it because I feel that Neptune is going to do a lot of help for all all of us, all people who are into astrology, all into mythical sciences, esoteric sciences. It's going to be a golden age for all of us.
So,
It's going to be a golden age for the world, actually. Yeah.
okay, let's assume natal Neptune and transit Neptune are in trine to each other. Then how's that as a period?
It's going to be good. It's going to be really good, isn't it? Because so and see, if it's also on one important thing, that is the Neptune positively, I mean, is the Neptune in debilitation or in a fall, then it can be, the result can be negative. But otherwise, if it's in a trine position, it's going to be really positive. And also it depends on the transit into which house it is. So if the transit is going to be in the 8th house or the 12th house or the 6th house, then probably there could be challenges. But if it is going to be in the in the natal Neptune is well placed, and if the transit is going to happen in the 4th house, 5th house, 7th house, 9th house, 10th house, 11th house, 2nd house, even 1st house, all of these could be good. So it could really give good results. And if again, subjective to the natal Neptune being placed well.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a very, very great thing. And quickly just wanted to share, Neptune is considered what do you call, what I had observed, is, let me open John F. Kennedy Jr.'s horoscope. Why don't I see it now? It's not coming. And he's got Neptune in the 3rd house of traveling.
Okay.
And with Mercury.
Okay.
And he died while traveling on a short distance in a plane. And yeah. And I think the Dasha was Mercury. Okay. I'm not just getting his horoscope now. I have his horoscope,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd kept it open at that time, but it's now showing me as a text file, which is strange. Let me still. And what I've seen, like, for example, a friend of mine has Neptune and Ketu in the 9th house. Okay. So his father is an alcoholic,
Oh, okay.
that way I've seen. And many things. Another friend has Neptune with Sun in the 10th house. Okay. So Sun is father. Okay. Sun is father. So his father. Sorry, what did you say?
10th house also indicates father in many ways.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it is with Sun also, the natural significator of father. So his father is, oh, I got John F. Kennedy. Finally, I got it. See, he's got Neptune and Mercury in the third house. Okay, let me draw it here. Neptune and Mercury is there. And somewhere 16th of July 1999, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he and Caroline were flying to Martha's Vineyard, and he reported that they were 13 miles off the coast. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
After a full day of searching, debris was found in the water, but no survivors. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so if you go 1999, okay, July, you see his Mercury Dasa has started, and
Mm-hmm.
he is with Mercury.
Okay.
You know, Neptune is with Mercury here in the third house of flying, short travels, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And incidentally, that's what happened in his life, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
like the water tragedies, you know, the water
Okay.
tragedy is what I'm trying to say. And when it comes to alcoholism, as I said, you know, several people I've seen, Neptune has a very, like if Neptune is with Venus, okay, and the person goes through a bad phase in love relationship, you know,
Mm.
he can turn to alcoholism, etc. and all. You know, so this is, I just, you know, anybody who has that does not mean that they would become an alcoholic. One has to
Yeah.
see that from this for the audience, you know, from the various other angles. So don't get worried, audiences, that if you have Neptune, you
Yeah, in
know,
fact, it can actually, the Neptune in the right houses can actually make, I mean, in the 12th house can actually make a researcher. The
yeah,
Neptune in the 12th house, if it is responsible for an addict, it can also be responsible for research, because both of them are a form of addiction.
yeah,
Yeah, and someone who's into research actually he goes mad. You know, like he's like thinking day in and day out about, no, I want to do this. This molecule I need to find out. I need to find a cure for cancer or whatever. I mean, whatever research you are into, you're
yeah,
fanatic. You're like completely focused. You're like so crazy about the whole thing. So that is also a form of addiction. So need not necessarily that you have to be addicted to only alcohol. You can be addicted to research.
yeah. And you know, one is using the planets. Like what I observed is using the planets Neptune, Sun, the traditional combination. You know, so father could be an addict, etc. Neptune, see, addiction, many yogas are given in the classics. Okay. Then let's assume Neptune is in the first house. I have seen suppose it is a native's horoscope. I have seen the husband of this person is drinking because of the wife. Because wife's horoscope has Neptune in the first house.
Ah, okay, 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 okay,
So
okay.
husband is seventh house. So
Yeah,
for
yeah,
husband, who's the wife, the first house. So
correct. Hmm.
Neptune's position in Lagna
Correct.
becomes Karaka for his drinking. Another friend of mine, Neptune in the sixth house.
Okay.
Losses in business and enemies
Okay.
become the Karaka, the significator for his drinking.
Okay. And now you said, talked about Neptune in sixth house, something very interesting. There was this movie that is PQ, you know, Piku, na? Piku, which is where Mr. Bachchan is very obsessed with his health. You know,
Achha.
so he feels that, you know, something is wrong with me and all that. I found this very interesting in many people with Neptune in the sixth house. They always feel that there is something wrong with me. मेरे health का कुछ तो problem है, some problem is there, some problem is there. So when I was seeing that movie, I was thinking this guy must be having a Neptune in sixth house, you know. Okay, so yeah, so this is something which I've seen in many people, and specifically even younger people who feel that, you know, they are very very conscious, super conscious about their health, and they feel that, you know, they can get into some kind of a problem, health issues. They have Neptune in sixth house. The illusion that कुछ तो गड़बड़ होगा.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it is. I somehow, you know, I'm so grateful to you for these sessions. You know, because normally I don't have anybody to discuss the
Yeah,
planets. You know, I just don't have anybody to discuss this planets, and it's such a taboo subject. You know, here in India,
yeah,
you know, it's
true,
such.
true, true.
You know, if you open your mouth, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, it is like people are right there to create riots.
Yeah,
Riots.
if we're talking about sex, yeah.
It's like social media. I mean, can be absolutely ridiculous. It just displays one's own weaknesses of character, of not
Yeah,
accepting new knowledge. But
true.
my point is, I've always been an explorer. You know, yes, Shastra should mention. I always believe shloka should be there, but at the same time, everything we have not preserved, and we should try and take one or two words of a planet like Neptune. You say legacy, okay, or mythical, or
Yeah,
mystical, or addiction, okay, and see how it is playing in several horoscopes. That
absolutely.
is how
True.
we will learn, and then we can read so many books on Neptune or Uranus or Pluto. Well, thank you so much, Greeny Loboji. It's such, I feel so comfortable discussing these things with you, and you're such a great conversationalist. But I am not happy with you today. Today also you have scored a brownie point. I'm wearing white, you're wearing white and black. Today also you're more handsome than me, you know.
That is so nice of you to say that. Okay, you're so sweet to say that. Okay, you are so handsome. You are very handsome in your own way. Okay, and with my bald pate, and if you feel I'm handsome, I'm very thankful to you. Thank you so much for that.
We're gonna
Yeah,
meet next week, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna meet next week with the planet of transformation, and probably the most misunderstood planet, which is Pluto. Thank you so much, Grishwan Logoji.
thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much for calling me on this show. I mean, absolutely wonderful. A pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Pleasure.